Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Thames Community Board meeting. Starting at 10 a.m. morning. Screen, visual 1, 2, looks like JF. And just a reminder, board members, please announce out your names before you speak, so that people on the screen know it is and don't blame me. Welcome to the people in the public gallery. And I declared this Thames Community Board meeting open. I love my gavel. Okay, I think I'll put my glasses on. Oh, that's nice big writing, isn't it? It's good. Okay, Martin, can we call upon you to do the Karakia, please?
Sure, too.
Those who wish to stand and those who don't.
E ngā tohu o te rangi o te whenua. E ara tiki I e mātua I ngā take e whiri I e tēnei whā. I raro anō I te aro e Ranganui ki ronga e Papatanuku e te koutou nei, hoki mō kia tēnei. Homi e, hui e, tāki e. Got to practice that.
Thank you. Okay, apologies and leave of absence. We have one apology, and that's from Councillor Sinclair. Would somebody care to move that the Thames Community Board accepts an apology from Councillor Sinclair, moved by Board Member Johnson, seconded by Councillor Rebel. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. So, is he speaking? Okay. Okay, welcome to all those people in public forum. I think we've got 1, 2, 3. Welcome. Hey, I thought you were going to do a Mary Poppins then for a minute. Take off your umbrella. So,
you got LCFS?
Yeah. So we're going to call on Althea Baker first. And just state your name, please. And you can either be seated or standing, whichever you prefer. You have 5 minutes. At the end of the 5 minutes, the board has the right to ask you questions.
That's okay. Yeah. Morena, Althea Barker from the Thames Museum, Te Wharetonga o Te Karonga. So I'm here just today, not to beg and borrow, which we usually do, but we're just here to inform you of the 50th birthday celebrations that we have got coming up. And you've all got your little invites. So we'd love to see some of you there. We just want to sort of, it's the time we're going to celebrate. It's not about us now. We're nothing because we didn't keep it going for 50 years. So we're going to start, the whole theme is going to be a celebrate of what happened. So a bit of the background, in case you don't know, is that in 1967, when the town had its goldfield 100 years, there was talk then that started from the CWI ladies, because they went around town and had the most magnificent displays. And people lent them stuff and they said, hey, you know, this is too good to throw away, we should have a museum. So the talk of the museum started then, and people like, there was Miss Arabella Anderson that would go around with a bucket collecting money for the museum. So everything that sort of just died off, nothing happened. 1973, they celebrated the Thames Borough centennial. And again, it was, oh, what's the centennial project going to be? Should it be a pool? Should it be a museum? But the pool won. So the museum again was just, should have died away then. But an eager group set up a Thames Historical Society, and within a year they set up the museum. So on the 17th of August 1974, the museum opened, and it opened down in a church that was located just on the corner opposite the where the Thames Library is today, so the old Methodist church. And that served them well until 1985, when they set up where we are today. And there's been several additions over the time. So the town, well, people have kept the plays going, and they've all had, when you read the old minutes, it's a bit depressing like most things, because people had the same problems. You know, money is always the thing, and at times getting visitors to come in. So there's been lots of highs and lows. Interesting, the real high was in 1999, so nearly 25 years ago, when the council gave a yearly grant of $2,000. So from that time, this council was always supportive of the building, and we can't overlook that. But interesting that the level of funding has remained basically the same over those 25 years. So you can read into that what you want. So the council, as I say, has always been supportive, and I wanted to mention at this stage one particular person that comes through in the reading I'm doing is Dennis Rogers, who was a councillor here for many years, and he also served on the museum. So it's people like that that we want to remember, not so much the people now. So we don't really know what's going to happen in the next 50 years, but we want to celebrate on the 17th of August this year the 50 years. So we'll be having an AGM followed by a celebration at 2 o'clock in the St James's Hall. So we'd like to see any of you come, even if you come for a while. Most people want to avoid the AGM, but come along at 2 o'clock, you'll be very welcome. We won't put you on a job if you come earlier. And whether Chair, Councillor Catherine, whether you would like to say some words at the time or designate someone else too. Delegation, that's your role. So we'll be, actually a lot of the time we will be having some set speakers, but we want to make it that it's more casual so that the older people there may tell us about what the museum was like. So it's a time for them to share their memories. So that's us for now.
Spare, that's all. Okay, is there any questions out there, please, Mrs. Parker? Yes, Councillor Rebel.
How long have you been involved with the museum?
Only, well, off and on, but from about 2000.
Okay, so almost 24 years.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, not 2000, 2020. Goodness.
Oh, okay.
Better not boost myself up. No, I've always popped in to the people that were there for, since about 2000. I've been going in and doing research there and helping them.
Right. And related to that, is the museum got any, apart from the celebration, is there any project that they're thinking of related to a 50th anniversary project or not?
We're having an open day before the day, a free day on the 17th. Truly, we were going to have a massive open day, and the secret's out. We were going to have the reenactors like from World War I and make it a totally live day. That will now be in about October. Right. So there'll be a big day in October. But with our chair being away, it's just been hard work keeping going.
Any other board members wish to ask a question? There's been none. Thank you, Ms. Parker. Thank you very much for coming, and I'm sure that there'll be board representatives at the AGM.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Ms. Efford, you're the next one, please. I don't have to tell you where you can stand or sit, you know the rules now. Not the rules, the protocol.
Format, whatever. Bruce Efford, ratepayer, intense. There are 4 things I want to bring to you today. Firstly, I'd like to just bring you,
Just one moment, please. Actually, come in front of the thing, it's very hot. You'll probably have to get it
What's it?
because that's no out on the Zoom very well, don't speak to the microphone.
apologies, Ruth Efford, a ratepayer and over 3 years now visitor to the community board meetings. I've got 4 points that I want to bring today. First of all, I'd like to bring you a blessing. So I'll give you that first. Lord, we ask your blessing for those that are in power, for those that who need to hear the voices of those they represent, for those whom they have responsibility. We ask your blessing for wisdom and courage for those who speak truth to those in power. We pray for the unheard. May we play our part in paying attention and in listening, and in speaking with and to those who have no voice. Hear our prayers which we bring through Jesus' name. Amen. My second point I want to bring to you is a very big thank you for the recognition of Volunteers Day. People don't realise you take the volunteers out of New Zealand, and as I said to Winston and his brother Ian in 1990, take them out and New Zealand will come to a halt within 4 hours. And that was no joke. And it's not much different today. Everywhere in the health, everywhere in the community and in the country depends on volunteers. And look at our fire brigade being called out so often, especially in this last couple of weeks. Thirdly, I bring to you a concern. I had an 80-year-old person ring up who was a passenger in a vehicle. They were going down in Mary Street, pulled out of a car park, went to come across Pollen Street. As they approached, and they could see no vehicles coming, nobody about, they went to go across, and a person stepped out from a blind spot straight in front of the car. Had the driver not been able to stop suddenly, there would have been almost a ticket to 20 mins or to the hospital at least. That happened to that driver again within 2 weeks, and I've heard of other near misses as well. The concern is that as on Queen Street, the pedestrian crossing on Queen Street, which is a legal pedestrian crossing, is painted red with lines over it. When people who have, be it sight or other mobility issues, go along and cannot always have their head up high because of their stature, they come, they see the red painting, and they just think it's a safe pedestrian crossing. They should look so that there's not a logging truck going to take them for a holiday, but at the same time they don't see that. If they've got iPods in their ears or they're busy on their cell phones and what have you, which they shouldn't be, but they all are, and well, not all, sorry, but some are, they see the red in the peripheral and they just walk straight out. So yet again I bring to you, is there something that can be done? In the past you've said it was the cost. What about a tin of black paint? But it really is a major serious thing waiting to happen. And fourthly, today an elderly friend who is in an electric wheelchair was hoping to be here to represent herself, but however she isn't. I haven't spoken to her not being here, but I'm going to speak about her and others that are having the same issues. Be it an electric wheelchair which has small wheels, or be it a mobility scooter that has different size wheels, these elderly people are finding it very difficult to access many crossings, and I don't mean pedestrian crossings, I'm saying going from the footpath down and up and onto the road, across and down and up and again. These crossings are very dangerous, and on that point, under a health and safety thing, I'd like to bring an invitation to this council. And when I was in Taupo many years ago, the councillors and the managers of the different departments, and not just the roading, all of the departments were invited to have a morning out with it's called a disability challenge. And you have glasses that make it hard to see, and you have things in your ears so you can't hear, you've got walking things to work with, different, walking sticks, frames and what have you. That challenge made a major difference to the way the roading and the footpathing and things were actually looked at by those that had the ability to make differences. I've lived on Burke Street for now almost you're coming up 24 years, and I have never ever seen that road ever scraped back and then redone properly. All it gets every year is a pile up. So from the time when I first went there to what it is now is quite a quite a lot higher. And the lady, or various ones with mobility scooters in my area, and there are several around there, they actually find it quite difficult. Although there is ramps sometimes coming down, it is still an issue on the height of the seal on the footpath. So thank you for that. I ask that you reflect back onto what the blessing was about, why you're here and who put you here, but most importantly, we did appreciate you acknowledging the Volunteer Day. Thank you.
Has anybody got any questions? Yes, Councillor Rodley.
Thank you, Ruth. Just want to check the pedestrian crossing in Queen Street.
Yeah.
Has that got lights, or has it just got the
They've got the bulbs
markers?
up there that flash, yes, all the time.
Okay, so it has got those?
Yes, it has.
Okay, cool. And sorry, you said that disability challenge, where did you say that had been done?
Many years ago when I was in Taupo.
Taupo, okay.
That was a long time ago. But it's certainly something, I mean, that was over 30 years ago. But it was I lived there, didn't I? But it was well worth the challenge because it brought a genuine experience. There was some nasty well, not nasty, but there was some incidences that people did not expect to actually have.
Yeah, and I guess a crossing or that transition between the road and the footpath might be legal and it might be within the guidelines, but
it doesn't work with the little wheels.
In fact there's a whole slew of different vehicles then.
And
sorry, that's not a question.
And also when
no.
sorry, I'm sorry about going over you, but when I go across any pedestrian crossing, I never stand on the paint. After having had on 2 different occasions, especially if it's wet, slipping. And there's nothing worse than slipping on a pedestrian crossing in the middle of the road with people piled up and you feel, apart from feeling an absolute fool, you hurt yourself. Nobody's going to jump out of their car to come and help you.
So any further questions?
Thank you.
Just 2 comments. One that was passed to me, that's State Highway 25, and I understand it's black and white one side and red and white the other side, and it's really confusing. So a request for service to our council down here, and the council downstairs, to Land Transport New Zealand agency, and it would be up to them to paint out the other side and make it black and white.
I'm not asking for Queen Street. I'm asking for Polland Merry intersection.
Okay.
That is the one where the near misses have been,
okay.
not the
I
Queen
just
Street
mentioning
one.
to you about Queen Street because that's the others are our jurisdiction. They are put there under a temporary 30k zone. So we've got a 30k zone, temporary zone in Polland Street and Mary Street. And I've stood there and watched them, and it makes no difference whether it was a crossing or not. The cars pull up sometimes and wave people across. They're not supposed to. They're supposed to continue to the compulsory stop. And I stand there and wave the cars through. I hear what you're saying, it's just a matter of education. We've had the words pedestrian put on there, pedestrian stop and look, and it doesn't seem to make any difference because the car people stop 3 lengths away and wave you across. But yeah, it's a risk we take anywhere. I've seen people walk out in a pedestrian cross in front of cars as well when they're supposed to.
But also, too, people stop in their cars on the zigzag. They're meant to stop on the solid white line.
Right. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Somebody care to move that the Thames Community Board receives Althea Barker and Ruth Efford as speakers in the public forum, please. So moved by Kishan, second by Councillor Rebel. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. So items not on the agenda. So there's no items to add to the agenda today, but we have changed the order of the agenda, and I need to notify you of that. So item 3.3, Thames Sub-Regional Aquatic Facilities Project, Interim Report on the business case, will be taken after item 2.2, allocation of funding from the Thames Urban General Purpose Reserve. It's only a change up the agenda. It still will be there for discussion. Conflict of interest, 1.5. Any members have conflicts of interest to declare today? There being none. Move on. The minutes for confirmation. So I take that you've read the minutes of the last board meeting, and Thames Community Board confirms its 5th of June 2004 minutes as being a true and correct record of the proceedings. Do we have a mover, please, of that? Mover by Councillor Rebel. Do we have a seconder, please? Board Member McKenzie. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, declared carried. Turn the page. Okay. Oops. Oh. Oh, here we go. This one. Okay. 2.1. Okay, item 2.1 on the agenda, which is, oh, good, thank you. Oh, welcome, Nicole. So,
Good morning.
that's nice and breezy at your end. Okay. Has anybody got any questions of Nicole with regards to this?
Yes,
Councillor Rebel?
thanks. I think this is great, Nicole. Can you just clarify though, what are the outgoings that the Seagull Centre is liable for under this lease?
They're liable for the rates mainly. That's about it. And they pay their own power and utilities, obviously. So
Okay, so it's only the rates, power, all that other stuff is, they've got that. Okay, thanks.
yeah.
Councillor Rodley?
And Nicole, also presumably insurance?
No, they don't pay insurance.
Oh.
Or we don't recover insurance from them, put it that way.
So the council pays the insurance, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Are they council-owned buildings or do they put the buildings up there themselves?
They're their buildings.
As their buildings? Right.
I might have a follow-up question, but maybe offline.
Okay. Any other board member got any questions of Nicole? I've just got one. Is that cat alive behind you asleep?
No, it's my baby. No, she's asleep.
I haven't seen it move. I haven't seen any chest movement. I was just wondering.
Yeah, no.
So just related to that, so rates, they pay $350 a year rental.
That's right.
And what's the insurance that we are carrying?
Actually, no, I did make a mistake because they actually pay the insurance because it's their buildings, so we don't actually insure.
Thank you.
Apologies.
I thought that would have been the case.
Yeah, sorry.
All right. There's no further questions of Nicole. I propose to put the motion. I'm not going to read the motion out, but it's on page 16 for those who've got it. Somebody care to move that motion, please? Moved by Councillor Rebel, seconded by Board Member Rakwa. Is there any further discussion on it? There being none, I propose to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Declared carried.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Nicole. Hi to the cat.
Thanks.
Okay, 2.2. I'm going to ask our area manager if you wish to make some discussion, please. Please make it positive.
Members, item 2.2 is the allocation of funding from the Thames Urban General Purpose Reserve. As you know, this reserve is specifically for Thames projects. Today we have 5 options in the report. Option 1 is the fit out of Thames Information Centre. The Thames Business Association will be the new operator of the Information Centre, and this project seeks to fit the centre out so it's looking appealing for our visitors. And we'll use the new Explore Interesting branding that has been developed. This option is recommended. Option 2 is the installation of CCTV. At the moment, we don't have a CCTV policy. However, one is being developed, and the most recent version which I got the day before yesterday, and
Just one moment, please.
I'm just
I think.
explaining.
Yeah, that's out, so we're not even discussing it. It's gone.
So that policy is being developed, and
Gone.
that option therefore has been withdrawn at this time.
Correct.
The next option is under veranda lighting, aimed at improving safety in Pollen Street at night. This has come to our attention, especially in the last year, and there are concerns among the public about their feeling, the perception of safety. Option 4 is the valuations for 6 leases on council's endowment farms. Are there any questions?
So you're all clear on that, that the thing involving CCTV cameras has been withdrawn at the request of council staff. So that will not be, is not what we're voting on today. So we're voting on all those options there on page 20, but not with option 2 being removed, $23,000 for CCTV cameras. Perfectly clear?
Can I request understanding as to why option 2 has been removed?
Okay, I am going to, I'm going to ask our governance officer to explain that to you, because she has a much more, it was discussed with her, not me, originally.
Between Rose and I'm sure we can do that. Through the chair, yes, staff have recommended that we remove this option from the recommendations, so we don't have all the information needed to make that decision today. Rose can add anything onto that if she needs to.
Yeah, I mean, the policy is being developed, and even I was referring to the most recent version, which came out 2 days ago. And so our preference is just to wait until that's finalised before we invest further in CCTV.
Thank you. I'm happy with that. Secondly, regarding option 4, and I think this is a really good option for the reasons stated, but, or not, and I read there that the rent review periods, that the 2 leases valuations have already been completed in June, and I was just wondering if we are, do we yet know what the result of those valuations are?
I don't know what the results are, but Nicole may still be online. I do know that the property team are bringing a report to you, I believe it's October, in regard to those 2 that are coming up.
Okay, thank you.
As agreed previously.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, sorry, Councillor Rodley.
Right, no need to apologise. So I'm a little concerned that, well, until option 2 was taken out, there was 3, the first 3 options have a up to as far as money goes. And we, like for option 1, we don't, if you say to someone, hey, we'll give you up to 50,000, then those people, well, have we got any sort of a quantum for what that's going to involve? I mean, I'd like to see what that 50,000 is going to buy, or are we just saying here's 50,000, you know, fit it out to that level? I'm just a little bit surprised that we're being asked to approve something that's we haven't got any sort of firm costings or anything for.
So to give you the context, in the draft Thames Community Board submission on the LTP, $50,000 was requested for investing in the fit out of the Thames Information Centre, and some initial work was done back then.
So was that the submission from the TBA?
No, from Thames Community Board.
Oh, from the Community
Yes.
Board. Okay, yep.
So that's the context. And so in terms of the fit out project, it's a council property, so council's property staff will be looking at that. And there is a project brief for it that we will be reviewing with both the contractor and also TBA.
Right.
And so the scope does not include certain things that you would expect that TBA would be providing, such as laptops. So the scope of the fit out is what you'd expect. So if you tip the building upside down, apart from display racks for brochures and that kind of thing, it's to do with items that council will own.
Right.
And a list will be made so that that can go in the lease agreement. So I've spoken with Nicole about ensuring we have a record of the chattels for the lease.
Okay, so potentially it's display counters,
Correct.
front desk, maybe some lighting,
Some
or
glass,
something.
a glass partition, there's display cabinets, racks, that kind of thing.
Right.
It's actually a proper fit out, like walls, display areas, and a counter. So they're trying to bring it into some sort of thing when people walk into it. It's all built around Explore Thames.
Yeah.
So and it's the one that concept of Brand Matters came up with, and I think he circulated amongst board members earlier in the month.
Yeah. And I'm not suggesting that, that we go down to, we go somewhere and we pick up some second-hand gear and slap a coat of paint on it. I want it to look fantastic. I just want to be assured that, and you've given that assurance, Rose, about how it's going to be looked after and
right.
project managed. While I'm on a roll, can I ask another question about that?
Supplementary, sure.
Option 3, up to 20,000 for under veranda lighting. So we've had some uptake with the recent pamphlet that's gone out. Was the idea that, I'm just sort of with us potentially saying here's some money coming quite soon after a pamphlet sort of asking businesses to look at doing it themselves. And again, it's that up to 20,000. Do we have we had a quote from a Sparky to do, 10 shops, 10 businesses? How much would it cost for 10 of them?
No, we haven't had a quote. No, we haven't had a quote from Sparky, but I have walked the street with a master electrician.
Yeah.
And he has advised me that everyone is different. So we can't treat one property the same as another because they are all different and their scenarios are different and the fittings are different and some of the cabling's missing. So one we saw has a spotlight that you'd buy at Bunnings with the cord that's clearly been plugged in years gone by. The cord's dangling there with a plug on it. So they're all different, and so we're going to need to take it case by case. And one of the steps would be for us, for a couple of us to walk the length of Pollen Street just to ascertain what the uptake actually was, because we would do a bit of a reconciliation in terms of what we found last year in August when we walked the street at night and what we find this year when we walk the street in August. We'll do it next month.
Okay, just to bring back to my selected members, there has been pricing worked out. It's between $150 and $200 per fitting, plus the cost of fitting it. And we also ascertained that it's around about 20 cents a night for 1,200 LED lighting, 20 cents a night for the lighting to run, or $43.80 per year if it's on every night, 7 nights a week. And we're testing the waters. There's some places there that got some very dangerous fittings on some very small shops, and it's hard to determine who actually owns the lights out in front. And they actually got broken bulb, broken glass in them, and we think the fittings are dangerous. And we've just been informed that this is now a road reserve as per the discussion we'll have later on this afternoon with the clock tower being a road reserve. So it must go from shop front to shop front. And we just thought we would try and bring it all into line. And if we did that, we would have an agreement from the people who make application for it, and they've got to make application for it, have agreement from them that they would at least maintain the lights on situation for a number of years. Now, we just want to light up underneath the verandas. And I agree with you. I mean, when it initially came forward, I looked at it and I said, yeah, right. Just after we put the brochure out, and then all of a sudden it come up. But
So would, and I know this is getting sort of down into an operational level
sure.
of it, but I think it's important because that we're asking to fund it from Tuggerah.
sure.
Would we be looking at some sort of a cap per business?
No,
Because I don't want to be
I can
paying,
answer that.
I don't want to be paying to, replace plywood on that thing for the light to be screwed into, or
Absolutely, categorically,
Can I
absolutely.
answer
This is light fittings and light fittings only. So if they need to be run wires from within the building or whatever, that's not what we're looking at. We're not going down that line. We'll just put light fittings up of that style, LED light fittings.
And in addition to that, just a comment, when I did walk down the street, some of the cabling is missing. So the light fittings will need cabling. So it's going to be a 1-by-1 assessment.
Yeah.
And as I said,
because
like in terms of putting it, we've got, as Adrian said, we've got an estimate of what a light might cost. We've got a general idea about what the power would cost for the business. So we're going to need to ensure that the property owner, who might not necessarily be the business owner, understands the detail, and that the property owner and the business owner have an opportunity to agree, because the business owner will end up paying the power as part of the operational costs for the business. So where a property is occupied by the property owner, it will be fairly straightforward. Where there is a tenant, we'll need to involve both the property owner and possibly the tenant if the property owner hasn't talked to the tenant. So.
okay, yeah, and very much aware that you might have a very narrow shop, that one bowl, you might have
That's
one that's
right.
really wide.
So
and
we can't kind of pinpoint an exact.
So staff resource wise, does any of that 20,000 including staff time to do any of that?
No. How we see it rolling out is we would need to identify priority areas that are really dark. And so we do have a few of those based on our assessment last year.
Okay.
And that's why it's important to do that walk again and just ascertain where the problem areas are and what those priority areas are.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll stop hogging the questions.
To bring it back, actually, Councillor Rodney is one of the people that did the walk down Pollen Street with us. Anybody else got any comments, any questions? Councillor Rebel?
Yes, I'm very happy with the options that we have, and I'm happy to support those. Of particular interest, though, on page 27, attachment B, so there's outlined there 6 projects, and I'm just wondering about how those projects are going to be advanced or what have you.
So it was important that these got captured in a formal setting, and the purpose of them being in this report is to acknowledge that these were suggested by the members at the workshop. And if there is alignment with the Tuggerah policy, then they would be in the mix in the future. We are having a workshop on the Tuggerah policy. That's the Thames Urban General Purpose Reserve policy, and that is scheduled for September the 11th.
Right, and so at that stage, we could then be saying, hey, we really want these minor gates.
That specific workshop is on the policy, and it's important that we get that fit for purpose for this board.
Yeah.
And we already have these 2 lists, and so then it would be a case of the staff going through the lists and going, okay, well, what lines up with what's lying out if we amend the policy, Of course, I'll have to
Okay.
report back those changes.
Okay, so you've got a good understanding of the process we need to go through.
Yes.
If we had a tailwind, when would we be, as a board, be approving funding for the installation of miners' gates using
You mean at the earliest?
TUGPRA funds?
So that if you would like to make amendments to the policy, the time to suggest those are at the workshop in September. Then I would report recommended amendments right after that, and then there would be an opportunity to look at different options in terms of how you'd like to allocate that funding.
Yeah. So you understand all that in the timing. So I'm just saying, if there was a tailwind, when do you envisage that we as a community board would be approving funding, for instance, for the installation of miners' gates?
I would say early next year.
Early next year.
Yeah.
Okay, just wanting to manage my expectations.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, Rose, you mentioned in answer to Peter's question about if we wanted to suggest a change in the policy, but there are items within that appendix, attachment B, which wouldn't seem to need amendments to the policy. So maybe what Peter was actually saying was, how do we get those moved on? And can they be considered maybe in our next community board meeting? Because we've got the information about them there. I realise they're not on the motions at the moment, but I mean, I'm keen for several of those to happen this year rather than next year. So
I see.
So I'm happy to accept Councillor Rodley's interpretation of what I was trying to achieve.
Right.
So just to put some context about what we're doing, if you could please address all your comments through the chair. It doesn't necessarily have to say my name. Address your comments through the chair, and those responding staff address through the chair back out. Otherwise, I'll go and take an early lunch, and you can have it all to yourselves, because we've got senior staff sitting in the room now who do that and follow that, which is in the standing orders, that all questions are through the chair, not just an open forum having a go, which you can have a go at this afternoon. So just being shitty about that.
Through the chair, my apologies.
Yeah, okay. And also applies to those who are responding to your questions, that they're answering through the chair, which then makes it so much easier for the governance officers taking the minutes to see what's happening and know things like that. I just want to ask a question. By taking out the $23,000, taking out the $23,000 off our motion, could we not replace the $23,000 CCTV cameras with the miners' gates? And I'll ask that to our area manager.
Through the chair, no, because it is not an option in your report.
Oh. Well, that's just been killed. Sorry, Rob. Yep, okay, we can't. Despite the fact it's coming up. After we pass the motion, can we do it? No. Okay.
So through the chair,
Yeah, you've got it.
before an option is presented to the board for consideration on any of these items, I need to have all the information. That includes the cost of it, the installation costs, whether a cherry picker is needed, all those costs, and then I bring you the cost.
Okay. Right. No further discussion. Proposed to put that motion, which is on page 20, minus option 2.
So through the chair, would we be able to just go through and under point 4, well, approve 1, 2 and 3, and then in point 4 vote on the options separately? I would like to propose that.
I would say no from my perspective. Yeah, I prefer to move the whole lot. Are you concerned about the $12,000 for the valuations on the council? They're not council's endowment funds, they're actually board endowment funds.
I'm happy to support option 4. I'm just wondering if others want to pick them one at a time.
No, we'll do it as one. Thank you. Thanks for the question.
Anyone
So,
else?
do
Just me?
you want it up on the screen so you can see it, or are you happy with the way it is in your agenda? If so, you are. Therefore, ask somebody to move that, please. Do we have a mover? Moved by Board Member Rakwa. Do we have a seconder, please? Board Member Johnson. I propose to put the motion because we had a good discussion about it. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Block voting on the right.
Did you want those votes recorded?
You want them noted? Okay. So 2's out. 2 was not in that motion. Okay, now, as per the change in the agenda, we're going to item 3.3. So we're just going to do this in no discussion. Okay. And view, there's no discussion on this motion. As per the email that went out, this is coming up for discussion this afternoon. Yep. Okay, so we're just receiving this information at this point in time. So any discussion will be deferred to the planned and formal discussion after the formal meeting. So that email went out to everybody yesterday afternoon. So I propose to move the motion that the Thames Community Board receives a report, Thames Sub-Regional Aquatic Facility Project Interim Report Case Progress dated 24th of June 2024. Note that the scope and the timeline of the Thames Aquatic Sub-Regional Project has been adjusted and staff will report back with a final business case upon completion of investigation and additional options for Thames Inc. I propose to move that. Do I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Board Member Johnson. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Be carried. Yeah. Oh, who's here? Oh, what program? What one's that one? CAPEX program 3.2? Is that the one you're referring to? Yeah, 3.2.
Okay, 3.2 is on page 38. You've got page number 7.
Oh, good girl. Oh, where? Oh, that's them there. Right. Okay, 3.2 on the agenda. We have with us Mr. McIntosh and what's written down here, Mr. Archibald, is it? Yeah, Archibald, Luke. So if you care to come up the front, please, and welcome to the Thames Community Board meeting. I'm sure that Mr. McIntosh will introduce you to the board and your role. Welcome to the cauldron called the Thames Community Board.
Good morning, everyone. So through the chair, this is Luke. Very excited to have Luke join the team. He's joined us from Hamilton City Council, and actually I'll let you introduce yourself, but just to flag that, so Luke is now a permanent position into the role that Lorenzo Canal was seconded into. So we have a bit of a transition period underway right now, and Lorenzo will continue involvement. He'll still be present around council on some key projects we're using him for tactically, but going forward, it's Luke's responsibility to deliver our CAPEX programs, especially our award-funded ones, and so he will be the face of this report for future meetings.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Right. I've got to expand the version for my quite easy to follow. So, as per usual, just quickly run down through the CAPEX program. Those a request for the out if you had any. Sorry. Can you please raise the questions at the particulars?
As we go down the list.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Happy to do that.
Excellent.
There's
Well done.
also one additional question I have, which I didn't raise, but I'd like to raise that as well.
You're fine. You're fine. Okay. Swimming pool, disability hoist, centennial pool fencing, Porritt Park. 10 street renewals, Kopu, sorry, is that your one?
Yes, so with the Thames Street furniture renewals,
Yes.
obviously different from the open spaces renewal, and basically saying replace existing street furniture, e.g. seats. Is it pretty much just seats? And is $2,500 to $2,600 a year enough to keep our seats in a good condition?
Through the chair. So that budget should go up and down over time. So the basis for the budget is condition assessments of the assets. And no, it would be other street furniture as well as seats. But yeah, you're right, you don't get a lot for...
Yeah, it just sort of seems like a tiny amount, and you might be able to do, what, 2 or 3 seats for...
if that.
If
yes.
that.
Yeah. So so we have had intern doing condition assessment of our parks assets, which will update the renewals program as well. So
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. We raised a question yesterday internally about the Kobu public convenience. We understand that that money will be coming through shortly, along with a whole lot of other TIF money. Footpath rehabilitation, streetlight renewals. There's one burning question I have about streetlight renewals, and I guess the only place to ask is that the streetlights were altered without consultation to Thames Community Board in Grahamstown, and we've been agitating now for some months to have Grahamstown lights re-looked at, and I understand that Mo Amatraz, Mo surname?
Taz. Mohammed. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Thank you. Has requested that the board make a request to him to look into that. I furnished him with quotes for that area for replacement of those lights. Where to from here on that? do you want a formal motion from the board to look at that, or do you just want us to note it here in the action schedule and you'll pick it up from there? I hope.
Through the chair, I would defer to governance or Rose on best approach to that. So it is Mo's area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
If the area manager was to forward an email to him saying that we need to look at the replacement of those blue lights or those LED lights to go onto there and put replacement heritage lights, then that would be sufficient for him to work on.
Through the chair, I think there might be an action on the action schedule.
Ah, good. Right. So it's been noted.
yes.
Sorry for that discourse on that. Yes, is yours the Albert Street one?
I just sort of wanted to touch to the footpath rehabilitation.
Oh, yes.
This is potentially a little bit cheeky, but there is a footpath alongside the service lane, which I've raised the query about, between the post office and the civic centre, which is in a very bad state of repair. So I had requested that through Jenna just to get an update on that.
Okay.
It's got concrete, the rebars showing through the concrete, and the buses trundle over it, and it's quite scary.
Okay. So through the chair, I inquired with the roading activity manager, and I'm pleased to announce that repairs to that are scheduled for this year.
Sorry, what was the last part of that comment?
Works to address the problem that Councillor Rodley has raised are already scheduled for this year.
Is that the land
That's the footpath rehabilitation.
between the Civic Centre and the...
Correct.
Yeah, I raised that as an RFS about 18 months ago.
So through this year, that's footpath and where the vehicles drive on as well.
Through the chair, and in my conversation with Ed, he said it's a concrete road.
Yep.
They hold on for years and years, and then suddenly they deteriorate very quickly. And we've reached that point. It's a big project. We've got to get on with it. So I take that to mean it's more than just the footpath. But I didn't
Awesome. Thank
push
you.
into that detail.
Yeah, no, it's seriously dangerous there with those big chunks of concrete at different levels through there. But also it's where all the buses go through, so it's going to require some conversation around that as well, isn't it?
Yep.
Anyway, not for us to tell you how to do it.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, can I ask a question,
Sure,
please, while we're on
absolutely.
this topic? We skipped past it. I just want to double check the budget. It's all completed on that. It says it's completed works, completed program. So budget-wise, there must be ongoing maintenance required for other footpaths. So,
sorry, which row are we talking about?
well, we're just talking about footpath rehabilitation. Program completed.
Okay, so okay, so yes, that's a rolling annual program. That's
Sorry?
That's a rolling annual program.
Okay. So my question then is, can Ruth Efford's suggestions about difficulties with getting from the footpath to the road and back up again for certain people in mobility scooters, can that be at least assessed as part of the rehabilitation program? Or is it outside the scope?
Through the chair, my suggestion would be to raise an RFS if that's not too cheeky a response.
Hmm.
But the roading team would
know how to do it. Yeah. So it's not, it potentially could go in as part of rehabilitation, but at this stage it's an RFS.
If I was just answering like from a purely bureaucratic perspective, without being a transport person, but renewals are usually about like for like.
Okay.
So if we were going to be cutting into curb and putting things in a spot that was otherwise a perfectly good footpath, we probably wouldn't call that renewals.
Okay.
But an RFS is the vehicle for getting there.
Terrific. Thank you. Thanks.
Just on that matter, did not WSP do a survey of our footpaths, including riding around a mobility scooter in this area 3-4 months ago? There's publicity about it.
I'm not familiar with that, but I'm sure Ed or Mo would be able to.
Yeah. Councillor Rodley?
Yes, and just further to Rob's point there may well be transition zones between the footpath and the road that are legal and meet the requirements. However, with the increasing number of different types of mobility, disability, electric wheelchairs, and the fact we've got Lifestyle Trust and a high percentage of over 65s, it concerns me a little bit that if it's just raised as an RFS, a roading person goes out and looks at it and says, yes, that complies with the code. However, people are beaching on them. So, I mean, I do like the idea of even trying to get, whether it's the mobility people or the lifestylers, or trying to get some actual practical people going out and watching a number of different vehicles go up and down certain ones to say, hey, we've had problems with this one, to try to get that, community engagement, because I'd hate for a body of work to be done and people still beaching on and having difficulty on those intersections.
Yeah.
Okay. That's probably drilling down a bit far. Totara Valley Road, this is an auspicious day because it's our meeting, and this is a day in which all those things are signed up. The last of them are signed off on Totara Valley Road, I see. Budget adjusted, leaving a full light, complete, with final settlement due on the 17th of July 2024. So we look forward to getting a report back on Totara Valley Road extension coming forward. Airfield renewal.
Can I ask a question on that? So just looking at Totara Valley extension, so there's the roading and there's the stormwater. I thought we always used to have three. There were three items. One was roading, one was stormwater, and one was water services.
Wastewater.
Wastewater, yeah. But it's not in this report. The wastewater is not in this report.
Through the chair, not sure where it's gone. It'll be covered in the reset. There's been another question about the growth implications for the wastewater treatment plant that I might as well answer now. So I think the chair asked if there was capacity, what capacity was remaining at the wastewater treatment plant. We did provide an earlier answer to say 2 years ago, there was about 3 years ago, there was about 200 new connections available as capacity. I did a quick check on, there've been 75 building consents in the wider Thames Ward area issued since then. So, I don't know, nominally 50 of those say connected. So there's some remaining capacity at the treatment plant that will allow us to cater for early to market properties out there, obviously subject to the enabling works to get them connected. But then there's budget in the LTP a bit further down the track for confirming how and design for additional capacity once we understand the yield that's coming and timelines.
Okay, that's great, thank you. But I guess whilst we're doing a reset, for instance, here under stormwater, modelling and mapping, so there's some work going on. I'm concerned that there potentially could be work going on around wastewater in terms of modelling and mapping or whatever has to, that doesn't seem to be happening, and that we might end up a little bit further down the track having to wait before we can do anything because the modelling and mapping or whatever you have to do for the wastewater is not being done. Yeah. So I think we used to have it. We used to have something there about wastewater. It seems to have disappeared, and perhaps you might want to look into that, right? Because we need to get Totara Valley happening at some point, and the more work we can be doing now, we get back at the other end.
So through the chair, once I've excused myself from the front here, I can check with Lorenzo and get an answer back before the close of the meeting if that would be of value.
We've raised the wastewater in general conversations, and just as recently as yesterday, and I have real concerns because we're looking at 400 to 500 sections up Totara Valley Road alone, and it was only 200 units, and I've just taken one of those, so you've got 199. So it's a real concern, and you know 75 yourself. So I hope it's flagged, and we understand now the pond has the capacity. It's just the treated water going out into the Waihau River, which we're about the only one that puts treated wastewater into a river. So where we're going to go, are we going to look at a larger wastewater treatment plants like they've got on the eastern seaboard, or as we're a big community, or are we going to have a series of wastewater plants between here and Puri or whatever? But we definitely needs to be flagged somewhere, along with the other many things that we have for Thames Community. Councillor Rodley?
Isn't that, so under Totara Valley Services Extension Stormwater, there's Thames Treatment Plant Upgrade, which talks about upgrade to increase the treatment capacity of the plant to meet future demand. So is that project potentially going to give more than that 200?
So through the chair, the next row down for the Thames Treatment Plant upgrade, that's what you're referring to in the report?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was covered in that earlier question about what additional growth capacity does that provide, and that project's not about extra. It's about improving the performance of the plant to meet existing consent conditions, not about providing for extra growth. So the short answer is that project provides no additional growth capacity beyond that 200 that's there.
Right, because just through the chair, that the scope specifically says increase the treatment capacity of the plant to meet the future demand.
Yes, we've had some internal discussion that could have been worded better.
Yeah, we had discussion about that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Lorenzo is behind you as well.
Yeah, Lorenzo
He's
wants to
online.
speak as well.
Oh, okay.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah,
I've just joined. Did you have some questions about Totara Valley? I understand you had some questions about the potential, the budgets that are reported, why there's not water and wastewater. Is that correct?
That was correct.
That was, yeah, my question.
Okay, so the answer to that is that so the capital works program is obviously from last financial year. It's the last one. There were only budgets for the roading and the stormwater last year. This financial year, it's got the three waters and the roading.
So it'll be back on the next report, I assume, through the chair.
And yes, this so I think they report in September, and the revised to this year's annual plan budgets, and it will include all of the water, wastewater, stormwater, and roading.
Thank you.
So there's a budget amount in the long-term plan for wastewater in Totara Valley Road.
Correct.
Just over $500,000. But it all, at the end of the day, it's all going to go one way, and that's downhill. Is the pond capable of taking it? That's the question. That's a serious question, because I don't know, I'm just surmising now, I don't know whether we'll get a consent to increase the discharge into the Waihau River. That is the critical question. Okay, moving on. Thank you, Mr. Canal. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, so we skipped down the page quite quickly then to Albert Street stormwater improvements. That was one you were asking last time, Councillor Rodley. You're comfortable with the answers there? About the pump and things like that, okay. Thames South Water Treatment Plant at Puri. I did see some initial design factors around that plant. Thames Sports Partnership Project. So we expect a report back on that in August. I already had on the way to the meeting today, my ears chewed off by a user out there at Rhodes Park. Thames and Surround Spatial Plan, installation of 2 sculptures in our Karakia, well, installation of 1 sculpture, they bring it up to date. That's the minus gates. Shoreline management plan. Yep.
Sorry, can I just question on the spatial, when are we scheduled to get the briefing on that, on the spatial plan?
I think it's 14th of August. We just double check. Are you sure?
Thank you.
No, it's not. It'll have to be the next briefing, which will be October the 2nd.
Okay. Shoreline management plan. That their next meeting will be on the 24th of July. Tent recovery, visit attraction initiatives. Karakia Valley proposed trail. Any other? Yes, sorry.
If I may, sorry, did you sneak? I understand with the Karakia Valley, the Karakia River Trail, not approved by council on the draft long-term plan, no further action is intended. However, we do still have the people themselves that have been pushing for that project, and also people within the Tracks and Trails Forum who are keen for something to be done. So I'm promising to not shut up about it. I will be trying to see what might be able to happen, because I think it's too good an opportunity to not do, even though we haven't got any money. I don't need an answer to that.
So we take that as a statement rather than a question. Okay. Councillor Rebel?
Yes, so just further to that, I support everything that Councillor Rodney has said, but I would specifically request that council staff maintain contact with the Karakia River, what's it called? The trail, yeah, with the groups, because they are continuing to do things, and I think it would be useful for this to remain here and for us just to be updated formally in this session about what's happening about that. So my request would be for council staff to remain in connection with them, if that was all right.
So through the chair, following adoption of the LTP, I have been in contact with the group. I have explained that the feasibility study, which is the next stage, didn't make it across the line. I have explained that we do have a funding HQ program that started this week, and we had one space left, and we offered them an opportunity to take part in that, which is over 7 months. So it's an online session once a month over 7 months. I'm not sure whether or not they're able to take part, but I will follow up on that.
Okay, good on you. Thank you. I've got just a second comment. I think it's fantastic, the work that's been done around, the ongoing work that's been done around the Thames branding, and especially the stuff I see on social media around exploring Thames and what have you. So a big ups to the people that are working on that. Thank you. And the third comment is that the shoreline management plan, the shoreline, whatever the meeting was, that was on the 24th of June, I thought was an extremely positive meeting, really clear presentation to the huge number of people who were there, 100 or so people, to hear what about progress on the options for Thames. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you, Councillor Rebel. So just the last one for the team is the project summary report, Kapu Marine Precinct. I'm sure that everybody's read that report. Any questions regarding, any questions regarding that? I thank Lorenzo, if he's still on screen, I thank him via Councillor Rebel for his explanation as to why people can't go down and fish off the wharf. I think it was actually one of the better answers I've seen from council staff regarding that matter. That's very well done. Okay, somebody care to move the 10th Community Board receive the CAPEX report, please, as per the motion on page 38. Moved by Board Member Johnson, seconded by Councillor Rodley. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. I thank the two officers sitting at the top table there. Welcome, Luke. And I thank the council, the board members for being very low key today, but expect a little bit more heat next time you come. All right. So we're going to break now. I call for a break now for 15 minutes for anybody who wants to go to a wharipaku or have a cup of coffee or tea. We'll be back in here. What's the time, please? 11:30. We'll be back in the room at 11:30. You That applies to Councillor Rebel as well. He's part of the team.
For the second time in this meeting, Mr. Chair, I do apologise for my recalcitrant behaviour.
You sound like the bloody school teacher you were. So what have we proposed to do here? This is nice and loud, isn't it? What we propose to do here is to receive this report. But before we do so, has anybody got any relevant questions regarding this report that I'd like to ask the report writer, please?
Mr. Chair, I think I have a statement rather than a question, but I would like to say I think this is absolutely fantastic that we have a report like this. For me, it is indicative of that we as a council are trying to significantly improve our engagement with the public, our responsiveness to the public, and in keeping the public informed, I guess. I think that's really terrific. There's a lot of data in here, and as I was going through it, there are places where I think, oh, I wonder why that is the case, or I wonder why that is the case, which the report doesn't give me. But I'm making the assumption that the relevant managers are taking this information on board. For instance, roading, to explore, hey, why is that so high for Thames where it's not in the other areas, and that this will be useful information to the managers. That's an assumption that I make on the report. But my question subsequent to all that is just on page 30 on the RFS project implementation, where Parks and Reserves, Roading, Water Services and Solid Waste have all now been completed. Just for clarity, does that mean that when somebody comes in with a Parks and Reserves RFS, when the issue has been closed, they get information back that the issue has been closed? Is that what this means? Press your button.
This one? Yep. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your question and your acknowledgement, Peter. So I would like to refer to the first question that I received. Thank you. That I also received yesterday to Jenny. So the first question, basically what we can perceive is the large percentage of population for the Thames ward are a permanent residents. So this is a very good explanation with the volume, to have the perspective of the volume of RFSs that we have in Thames wards. Compared to other wards, we have a large number of non-resident population, non-resident ratepayers. So we noticed that, for example, for solid waste and for water services, the volume is really high in Thames compared to the other wards. So this is one of the explanations, but also by all means, the activity managers can provide what is the activity of the highest volumes. If you perceive that in Thames, if you compare the last report for the last 12 months, the outstanding RFSs and the complete RFSs, you can see the large volume in Thames wards is for water services and for solid waste, and is due to this. In the second question, in regards to the RFS project, yes, you're correct. So we have completed the implementation of the RFS project, and the perception of the public is very positive. So it means that when Parks and Reserve complete the task request from the customer, As soon as they complete the task, they will receive an automatic notification. Your RFS number XX has been complete. If you want any further information, please contact customer services. There are, to give you an example, last week a customer called because they received the notification and they are very pleased to be advised that the RFS has been complete. What we haven't complete, the building inspector, the regulatory department for the automatic responses in this RFS project is because they don't working through contractors. They dealing directly in a daily basis with the customers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Rod, oh, sorry, do you know?
I'm just saying thank you. It's really good, very encouraging.
Councillor Rodley?
Hi. So I had the feeling that we might have asked a few months ago that when someone gets that email response saying it's been complete, and then you're saying, well, if they want more information, you know, they're invited to ring customer services to find that more information. With that automated process, is there not some way that the actual last notes or whatever that have been put on it saying, you know, road and crew investigated this, found a loose grate, they've tightened it, could that not actually be added to that email that goes out saying this has been completed, here's the last notes in there about it, or this is going to be done in the next 6 months or whatever? Because otherwise you've still got that someone gets the thing saying it's been completed, they look outside, and from their point of view, they don't see it being completed. So, yeah, how would you?
Thank you, Martin. Actually, we submit the project initially to the leadership team. Our pathway system has the ability to provide the last comments on the outcome of the RFS. However, this is the phase number 1 of the project. So we run into these phases until the quality of the information from the contractors and every single one is aligned to the specific result, taking into account that some of the comments in the request for services are very technical and very high level. So we need to ensure that the comments, the last comment of the RFS is very clear to the customer. And also specific for water services and for roading and building, the customer requires some further explanation on this, but definitely something that we evaluated. Also, this project is not only having the awareness of the customer, it's not only the customer receive the automatic notification when the RFS is complete, it's also having the awareness and the culture within our organization to call the customer, right? It's not only the automatic notification. For instance, in roading department, always take the phone and call the customers when the RFS is complete, but by bonus, they receive the automatic notification. It's something that we also have for many departments, such as solid waste, right?
Thank you.
There's been no further questions? Okay, thank you very much indeed, much appreciated.
Thank you.
So somebody care to move the motion on page 37, please? Moved by Board Member Johnson, second by Board Member Rakwa. Any questions? All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. Thank you. Well, what number is that? Action schedule now, which is page 63. Oops, too far. Okay, you're all on the same page? Any questions regarding the action schedule, please, before we move to motion? Councillor Rodley.
On the top one, point number 4, Alan Young, and then the notes commentary on the side, I think I've updated Rose with the information that the Karakia prospectors are just keen to be able to talk to Doc Hamilton staff with some sort of an indication from council that we'd be prepared to consider receiving that land. So I just sort of wanted to make sure that was updated, because essentially any gifting of land would be done at a Hamilton level rather than through the Thames local staff. Yes, they'd be told about it, but it would be at a regional level rather than a local level.
So through the chair, I'm taking my direction from the action schedule and have contacted the Karakia prospectors following the last meeting. The next step was the discussion I had with you. So if you would like that step where we discussed confirming via a letter to the Karakia prospectors that we are, the council's open to having a discussion, I will action that.
Would be, sorry, through the chair, that would be fantastic.
So is that discussion via the Thames Community District Council?
So in anticipation, I would write on behalf of the Community Board regarding their request about engaging with DOC to explore the potential for council to acquire land at the Gold Mine Experience. And I would just note that there hasn't been any engagement with the local DOC staff, which is what we would normally do. And also, we just acknowledge that this hasn't been in front of council as a priority, and that the Community Board would need to know and understand any benefits for the community. And then just saying to them, please let us know a suitable time that that we could meet with DOC staff.
Thank you.
Is that what you're indicating along those lines?
Yes.
Which seems slightly different to the version that I had from Alan Young. I'm not too sure about the word acquire. You could use it in a general loose sense, but there's no money changing hands. In other words, they're gifting the land across. So you may put people off by acquiring the land. Might mean insinuation that you've got to pay for it. It's a gift to the Karakia Prospect Association in return for goods.
So through the chair, I just acknowledge that comment, and I use the term acquire in a general sense. It could be gifted. So I will just clarify that.
Yep.
Just say e.g. gift.
Yeah, it's a gift, or transfer of land without cost. It's only a very small parcel of land. Is that your understanding of Councillor Rodley?
Yes, and I guess whether it's worded as acquire, gift, transfer in exchange for whatever, I guess they're just sort of after something to say. If we were presented with something, we wouldn't throw our hands up and say, no, we're not, and there might be backwards and forwards negotiations, etc.
So my understanding, originally they were looking for a letter from the Thames Community District Council saying that if the Department of Conservation decided to gift them a block of land to join the existing 3 lots of Heritage Reserve, all they were looking for was a letter from the Thames Community District Council to say that yes, they would accept the land and add it to the 3 existing Heritage Reserves there.
So I'm not in a position to say that we would accept a gift. That's not my role, but I can write a letter explaining that we're open to the discussion about a gift.
Anybody else got any further items on the action schedule, please? The last one there about the signage contract that confirmed installation meets the NZTA standards. which kind of annoyed me, and they rang me up and they said they have a choice. They could either put the sign 5 degrees towards the road or 5 degrees away from the road, and they chose to put it 5 degrees away from the road on the basis the car headlights may cause a glare to reflect back on the driver of the car. But my comment to them was the sign is so high that even if the car headlights are on high beam, there'd be no glare back to the driver. But to shift that sign and put it like every other single sign that NZTA have on the state highway, put it back with 5 degrees towards the road, would be quite expensive. So I think that we've got a bad deal there, and I'm not sure of any other NZTA signs that are angled 5 degrees away from the road. Councillor Rodley?
Is that the sign on the side of Goldfields car park and behind the McDonald's or the KFC one that's up really high? Okay.
The sign is angled back 5 degrees. So the sign is on a oblique angle to the road instead of being around, so you can read it. Every single sign from Kopu round about the Thames has a 5 degree turn towards the state highway. That one hasn't. So that's just so you don't get glare in your eyes as you're coming down that road, because you're most likely to be driving a low beam anyway. Don't get glare in your eyes and reflection back off that sign. If you want to get glare in your eyes, drive over the Kapahikawai and try those little orange signs up there. Man. They didn't worry too much about those. But anyway, in my humble opinion, we've got a bad deal out of that. So anybody else got anything on the action schedule? There being none, propose to put the motion. Thames Community Board received the action schedule report dated 26th of June 2024, moved by Councillor Rebel, seconded by, oh, good name, seconded by Board Member Johnson. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. Have you got the chairperson's report in front of you, everybody? That's exciting. Oh, right. God, thank you. That's the other ones, yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. So we're actually tabling 2 reports. The first one is the chairperson's report, and the second one is the one by Ariana Hayes, the governance manager for the person's report as the Thames Community Board of the proposed 2024 Community Service Awards CSA program. So I'm tabling 2 reports. Any questions on the chair's report? If you read that carefully. Sorry, Councillor Rebel.
Thank you. I was very interested to read in your report that 4 of the Thames Community Board attended the workshop on rough sleepers, and that there was a subsequent meeting and the board was represented. I was wondering if we could have a brief update on the second meeting, whoever it was who was represented there.
My understanding, Councillor Rodley, did you attend the second rough sleepers?
I did. As did Ishan. Did you want it? Yes, from my point of view, it was very much around talking about how the different agencies are currently joined up, because there's a perception that there's a whole lot of different agencies that are all just operating in their own silos. But from that, the main thing I got from that meeting was that there very much is communication between the police and MSD, and between police and corrections. And
okay, I'll talk to you after that. Okay.
and there's a whole range of different agencies, but people, it's very hard for those agencies to enforce something onto a person who is actually okay with the idea of sleeping rough or being in their particular circumstance. We had a very moving discussion we had 3 people who'd classified themselves as homeless together with a support person came, and the story that one of them told was very much around a life of being desensitized, being in state care and that failing them. And I think that really brought home to everyone the fact that there's a whole lot of different circumstances for why someone's in that particular state. And I was talking to someone this morning who said one of our well-known street people up until his mid-20s was completely fine, and then one day something happened, and it does sort of make me feel that, you know, but for, you know, some circumstance of fate, could be any of us. So yes, and I think also the meeting had moved on from the first meeting where they were talking a lot about how can we get people off drugs, how can we get people off alcohol, how can we provide a big solution. I think it was a lot more looking at, you know, how there might be some small things that could be done. So whether they might be lockers for people, whether there might be facilities for people to, you know, have a shower or get some washing done or be able to leave some of their possessions somewhere. So the first meeting worried me a lot because it was kind of, hey, we can solve this whole thing, and it's not a completely solvable problem. So I was encouraged by the second meeting that was more thinking, hey, what are some things we can do, and what might council's role be in that? Any questions? I know that was a bit rambling.
I'm pleased you said council's role. Any questions of Councillor Rodley regarding his report on the rough sleepers?
Yeah, through the chair. Thanks, Martin. That was great. Just so my question was going to be, did any specific actions drop out of it? And it sounds like not yet, but there potentially could be. Yeah. So how can we supply showers? How can we, you know, and who will take charge of asking those questions and getting answers and assigning them? And is there another, you know, is it just going to be another meeting like that, or is it going to be a sort of like a group of people specifically tasked with finding that out?
Yeah, I think Helen Flynn is still going to be leading that as one of her many hats that she's going to be wearing, and she's been pretty sure she's being funded for the next calendar year. But yeah, after that it becomes a bit, we run out of that recovery money that's funding them. So yeah, I don't have any specific answer to that.
Councillor Rebel.
Thanks, Martin. I was just wondering whether Kishan had anything to add to what Martin said.
Through the chair, I think Martin covered probably everything. I just want to add one thing. There was one interesting comments come up from Michael Burlow. He was concerning about saying rough sleeper. There's supposed to be something nice word for them. That's all one comment out. I'd like to add in.
Thank you for those comments. Just with regards to that, Martin, or Councillor Rodley, regarding was the Baptist Church still mooting a sort of a halfway house or a place in which they could, did that come up on the floor?
No, we had Terry and Eddie there, but that was conspicuously not mentioned.
Because I can remember Shell from MSD saying that if you start something, you've got to be careful. It's got to be a cost, ongoing cost to you. So when we mooted about a night shelter for them. So currently with the inclement weather at the moment, I know that they're struggling out there, those rough sleepers. It's quite dreadful. And my concern is, as a community board, as a community and as a council, that we don't have one of those people pass away from hypothermia. And then everybody says, well, why didn't you do something about it? You know, you got a body down in Danby Field, and how did that happen? Why weren't people going around looking at them? I'm involved with Kai at George, which we provide a meal on Mondays. I know the Baptist Church provide meals during breakfast during the week. So there are some things out there happening, but it's obviously not enough in this current weather pattern at the moment we got, because I was talking to one of the rough sleepers 24 hours ago, and they're struggling. They're wet, they're cold, and they've got nowhere to go. So interesting enough, he's got a $28 pass for the gym. He goes there and spends half an hour on the rowing machine at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning and half an hour in the shower afterwards to warm up. Second thing we have, the second item we tabled is the Community Service Awards. So you've got that in front of you, and I'm going to ask the governance officer. First of all, I want to acknowledge the fact that Her Worship the Mayor is in the room. Hey? No, but you're here. Welcome. And we're going to call upon the governance officer to make to answer any questions you have regarding this or comment, please.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, apologies, this was omitted from the agenda, so although I'd like to take the report as read, I understand some of you may not have had time to do that. So this is just a FYI report. It was taken to the 27th of June 24 council meeting, where they approved the eligibility criteria and timeframes for the Community Service Awards. Just of note that there was a bullet point removed from the eligibility criteria, and that's on the first page of the report, just above the snippet of the resolution from council meeting. So if anybody has any questions, please let me know, or if you have any after the meeting, feel free to email myself or Ariana and we'll be able to respond to you.
Councillor Rodley.
Yes, so I think it's great that the amendment's been made so that nominees can have received other recognition, which is great. And I know in that meeting there was also the conversation around people getting medals, but maybe the people that were nominated getting certificates. Is that kind of at a granular level that wouldn't be in that policy, or are we just okay for that to happen?
I don't recall that conversation, but I can find out from Ariana during our break and respond to you.
Okay, thank you. Because, yeah, the medal's great, but a certificate is a cool thing too.
Just a quick question to Councillor Rodley, because you obviously been through council. Is there actually a nomination form which is available? There will be, because it doesn't actually say using the nomination form that I can read here. Hey? Attachment B, yep. Nomination form, there you are.
Those attachments will be forwarded to you as well.
Read to the bottom of the page. Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Through the chair, you're welcome.
Each other's back. Okay, no further questions? Can we move this? Because you got that there and that there, two things. Okay, I'll move. The Thames Community Board received a Chairperson Report dated 5th of July 2024. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Deputy Chair Johnson. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. So I have a mover, please. The Thames Community Board received the 2024 Community Service Awards report dated 3rd of July 2024. Thank you, Councillor Revel, moving that. Do we have a seconder, please, Board Member Mackenzie. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. Okay, and the words are in here. Oh, I don't know, passed it over here. Now I'll get in the words. Quite a big one.
Okay. Over here.
It's in here. There we are. Okay, we're going to go into public excluded part of the board meeting. 3.6 on page 65.